Hello and what's up everybody, Thunder Bob here, and tonight I am going to be checking out some Diablo 2 Resurrected on the PTR. I have put a bit of time in here testing out some different classes and builds with the newly added Sundered charms. Now this is single player, I'm not playing with any of the PTR classes. I found a save file that had all of the charms available, and I put this on a bunch of different characters. And I'm going to be showing off, I think, the best, or maybe the most busted, characters I found so far. I'm kind of excited about this, kind of worried about it. To start with, the Sunder Charms are being added with the next patch, along with the ladder. Basically, they are charms that will break immunities, lowering enemies' resistance to 95, but also reducing your own resistance to the same element. And some of them are going to be better than others. I do think this is probably the biggest change to Diablo 2 Resurrected since release, because it impacts basically every class in the game. It's going to impact farming routines, it's going to impact the meta, what classes are played, the cost of gear, all kinds of things. And these charms basically exist to bridge the gap and allow, the classes that can only deal with one immunity, to be able to farm all of the terror zones, I think was the reason that Blizzard had mentioned. Now, these Grand Charms, lower your resistance by a substantial amount, but it can be overcome through different items like Flickering Flame for fire, through different charms. I think it'll definitely make some of those items get a little more expensive. I am curious, they didn't mention what happens when the season ends. So when this season goes away and the characters go back to the normal realm, does this come over with it? Do they make these then drop in the normal game? I'm curious about that. Terror zones are limited to ladder. These are limited to ladder. And I'm kind of wondering if they might be using this as like a test bed. If people like these, maybe they'll roll it into the main game, maybe they'll roll it into future ladder seasons. I'm kind of curious, kind of happy about the way they're doing this. They're almost using the ladder as a way to test, new changes they want, and then they could roll them into the main game if they want. If people don't like it, if they get a bunch of pushback on it, they could say it was a limited one-time event. And I hope they do keep this up. I would like, some kind of unique mechanic with each season, I think would be really cool. As far as these charms go, I think the physical and magical ones are probably going to be the least impactful. There's just not a lot of physical immunes, and there are a lot of ways also to break physical immunities. Magic, it's the hammered in, and I think the only major impact's going to be on the second wave of Bale. I think it'll make it easier, but otherwise it's not going to be a huge change. I think the biggest ones are going to be the other elements. Fire will be pretty huge for, fire sorceresses, for elemental zons, for fire druids. I think the biggest one to me is going to be the cold, mostly because of the skills that impacts it. So cold mastery. Once you get up to negative 195, and I'm got a little overkill here, literally every enemy in the game, with this charm, even immune enemies, you can get to negative 100 resistance, which is insane. The increased damage, on Blizzard or Orb is just intense. The other one, I think, and I'll show this a little bit later, it's on my Tesladin, is the lightning one. Tesladin's combined with Tesladin's combined with Infinity and the Charm, I think is going to be huge, and I'll show some of that gameplay later. Just going to very quickly show you the gear and skills on this character. I haven't really... This is basically just the Blizzard single-player sorceress I use when I'm messing around, testing things. Kind of ridiculous gear for the most part. And then, of course, the skill charms, the Cold Rupture Grand Charm, and then for stats, for skills, Max Blizzard, Max Cold Mastery, all the masteries. Telekinesis, Teleport, should have one in static, just put one in warm. from there, you could, you know, go Frozen Orb or, you know, pump your static or something. Like, the extra points when you get to 99 really aren't that necessary. Okay, I'm just kind of looking for some easy to find gold immunes, like these Dark Lords. You'll notice there's no immunity bar on them at all. I don't even have to, like, attack them. It's just I'm in range and it goes away. If I drop the charm, suddenly they are immune to cold again. I'm not dealing any damage to them. Pick up the charm, and literally they just melt. I think that's pretty interesting, the fact that it, like, goes on and off immediately. I'm actually finding a good amount of them. Orb is also impacted the same way by Cold Mastery, and I think being able to not have to dual spec and go completely Orb may make Orb viable. I love Orb. It just doesn't do quite enough damage, and I don't think the charm is going to impact that. Like, I think it'll be a great farming build for, like, player 1, maybe up to player, like, 3, but if you're going higher difficulties, if you're playing with 8 people, I think Blizzard is probably the route to go. And I am playing on player 1 here, just to kind of demonstrate. I missed it. I am curious also how this works on the bosses. That felt a little faster than normal, but it's hard to judge. But if it does work, I mean, they're not immune, so I guess it wouldn't make any impact on them. So I think it's only on immune enemies. But I think this is probably going to be the most impacted class, just because of Cold Mastery. I'm going to jump over to the Tesladin. Alright, I'm just going to quickly show you kind of what I'm running with. Dream, Dual Dream, High Lords, Enigma, or some rares, the Sunder Charm, plus skill charms, just crazy levels of gear. This is, again, a single-player character I usually just mess around with when I'm testing things. I've got the synergies maxed out for my Holy Shock. You don't actually need to put any points that get the benefit because of the Dream items. It's Conviction up to negative 130%, so it's not going to be quite as crazy as Cold Mastery. I think I was at 220 on the Cold Mastery, but this should still take enemies into negative territory that were previously immune. So we're just going to go see if we can find... You know what, actually? I'm going to take Reaper Toll off. Just for testing, so he's not killing stuff. Alright, let's see if we can find any lightning immunes. Alright, so these guys are all lightning immune, and you'll see with the charm on, the pulses are doing a pretty decent amount of damage. Say it's taking like 3 to 5 to kill the minions. If I took that charm off... Wait, are these not immune? Oh, it's because Conviction also. Yeah. But one thing I'll notice is... let me find some more of them. Okay. If I take the charm off... Look at that damage. It's going to take 15 hits. Now, if I pick up the charm and I find some more guys. There we go. And there is a huge variation on the damage from Holy Shock. So it's kind of hard to gauge. But those pulses definitely seem like they're doing more damage with the charm on. And that's just the pulse damage. Most of the damage that I'm dealing as a Tesladin is from attacking. You know, the skill only adds, Holy Shock only adds a minimal pulse. Most of the damage comes from, you know, actually attacking. Literally one-shotting all these guys that are normally lightning immune. And with Conviction, you know, it would break most of these guys anyway, especially at the level I'm at, but I think you're doing a lot more damage because Conviction's applied after the charm. I find that pretty interesting. I think it actually may be a little overpowered, especially in the Cold Mastery's case. I think, why am I not running a Raven Frost? I'm an idiot. I do think that Cold Mastery going, you know, to negative 200% is crazy when you take into effect that, you know, immunities are not a thing with the charm on. And yeah, that's the Tesladin, just kind of showing, running around, how the charm, you know, makes an impact. It is not like the best gear in the world, but it's pretty high level. Alright, I'm gonna jump to one other character. I just want to demonstrate Hydra and the fact that Hydra does not gain any benefit from the charm. Alright, so one thing that I'm, you know, not super pleased about is, you know, when I first read about these charms, I was like, oh, I'll make a Hydra source with the ladder. That's awesome. And then I heard people say it doesn't seem to impact Hydra, and I had to confirm, and it doesn't. I'm going to show you that. Very, very dissatisfied. So Hydra, Lightning Sentries, Necro Summons, like so many things, Druid Pets, Mercenaries, none of them take advantage of the charm, which I think definitely is going to limit the meta and limit what builds people are going to play. People are going to want to play the ones that are changed. And, you know, Hydra Source now is, again, limited where it can farm versus, you know, a Cold Source or a Fireball Source or, you know, so many other builds. You know, it actually, there's usually some fire immunes. So, like, this guy says no immunity because the charm is taking away the immunity. But you'll see my Hydra is doing no damage to it. My Fireball literally explodes it though. So, and let me show you what I'm rocking here. It's pretty much the same gear as the Cold Source, just with a couple of things changed out. Lots of skill charms. Hydra's doing 5k damage. Fireball's doing 12,000 damage almost. So I can like 2-shot these guys, 3-shot with Fireball. That's doing 5% damage. So if my Fireball's doing 12,000, what's that, like 6,000 damage or something? Now again, this is pretty high-end gear, but I dropped 5 Hydras, and I have negative fire resist right now because of the charm. But Hydra is just never going to kill those guys, and that's super annoying. So, yeah, pets, summons, followers, hirelings, all that stuff. Nothing. No impact at all. Really disappointed by that. But overall, I'm kind of hyped up for this. I actually did a video long ago where I talked about my thoughts on immunities, and I actually thought at the time they should just change immunities to be 95% resistance. Let, you know, a small portion of that damage go through. And I think it would make the game easier for newcomers. Like, they're not going to hit a brick wall on the first immunity to their, you know, single element build. But it's not going to let it, you know, be so easy that people are going to just endlessly farm. Like, you know, if I'm a farmer and I'm doing 5% damage, I'm probably going to skip those enemies. So it wouldn't impact the greater meta, but I think it would make it more enjoyable for newer players. That was my thought at the time. I think this is a decent implementation, making it item-based, making it have a negative as well. I do think there are a couple of minor things they should change. The way skills impact the charms, I think, is a little overpowered. Conviction and low resist to a lesser extent, but cold mastery in particular, getting, you know, negative 220% or more resistance on top of lowering the resistance already is pretty crazy. Basically anything in the game this character fights is going to have like a negative resistance or negative 100% resistance. I am excited to try some single elemental builds that were never really able to farm that many areas. They need to watch, you know, how the skills impact it. I think items are a little bit less, like facets and some of the items that lower resist. Everyone can use them. It's not limited to certain classes. I don't think it's as big of a deal, but it's things that are limited to just a few classes and Infinity that I think they need to look at. And for the most part, I'm excited. I, you know, have some minor issues, but I think it will definitely add some fun for this latter season. And I hope Blizzard watches how the community receives this. If the consensus is that it's positive, I hope that they do move it over to the non-ladder and also single player. I think it's an interesting concept for them to use these ladder seasons as kind of a test bed for future editions. It's something Diablo 3 has done to varying degrees of success. And I think, you know, they add something crazy in. If people like it, move it to the main game or use it in future seasons, maybe rotate it in for future seasons. If it's not liked, throw it away and come up with something new the next season. I think that's interesting. And it's a way that they can alter the game. And if people don't like it, they keep it limited to that one season and it doesn't break the game for future generations. I'm going to end the video here. I just wanted to demonstrate a couple of the classes I was playing around with on the ladder. PTR, I will be playing ladder when it comes out. I'm still debating what character to make. The way it is right now, I'm almost leaning back towards Blizzard Sorceress just because of how crazy they're going to be. But it's also kind of the boring class. So, I don't know. I'll decide. I might do another video to talk through that process. But, yeah, I'll have some videos up for the ladder for sure. If you like what you're seeing, please do like and subscribe. And if you get any thoughts on these new charms, you know, what classes are going to benefit the most, how they're going to impact the meta, please drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for watching, everyone, and have a good night.